We live in a world where satellites orbit our planet by the thousands, where we stream high-definition movies from servers halfway across the globe, and where artificial intelligence can write poetry that tugs at the human soul. Yet, in the very same world, a single solar flare-in ancient cough from the sun can knock out our entire power grid in under a minute. That, to me, is one of the most compelling paradoxes of our age. The illusion of control in the face of cosmic indifference. From May 10th to May 13th, Earth is expected to be struck not by one, but by a sequence of 5 coronal mass ejections, giant clouds of solar plasma, hurled toward us by magnetic chaos, brewing deep in the heart of our star. These are no gentle breezes in space. They are tsunamis of radiation moving at over 1 million miles per hour. And as they race toward us, threading through the void, they carry not just energy, but a question about how ready we really are, not just in terms of hardware, but in terms of awareness. Because here's the truth. We are not separate from the sun. We are born of it. Every element in your body carbon, oxygen, iron, was forged in the heart of a star. And while we now type code and launch rockets and build global empires of finance and digital clouds, we are still electromagnetic creatures, bound to the rhythm of solar breath. When the sun exhales, we feel it. When it screams, we tremble. And this storm, this event that scientists are calling the most intense solar disturbance of the 21st century, is a direct invitation to remember our place in the cosmic order, not below it, not above it, but within it. So as we brace ourselves for the days ahead, let us not merely think of satellites and circuit breakers. Let us also think of ourselves as participants in a larger symphony of forces, of fields, of frequencies. The same energies that can disrupt our GPS can also unlock dormant potentials within us. The same magnetic fields that can shake the ionosphere can stir something deep in our consciousness. This is not just about weather, it's about wonder. It's not just a test of technology, it's a mirror held up to our collective soul. Because when space speaks, we would do well to listen not with fear, but with awe. To understand the scale of what's arriving, we must first zoom out. Picture the sun not as a warm yellow disk in the sky, but as a furious sphere of plasma over 1 million times the volume of Earth. A roiling magnetic engine where chaos is not the exception, but the rule. Every second, it emits more energy than all nuclear weapons ever built, detonated at once, could match. This energy surges outward, carried by solar wind, and occasionally erupts violently in what we call coronal mass ejections, massive bursts of charged particles and magnetic fields hurled into space. When these are directed at Earth, the result is not just auroras dancing in polar skies. It's interference with aviation, communication, satellite navigation, power grid, harmonics, anything and everything that relies on electromagnetic stability. But this isn't just a story about circuits and systems. It's also about human vulnerability, emotional dependence on a stable, connected digital reality. We are creatures of signal, of light, of rhythm, of frequency, and so is the Earth. Its magnetic field or invisible shield is not fixed. It pulses, it fluctuates, and it too reacts when the sun decides to change the rules. When those 5 CMEs converge upon our atmosphere between May 10th and 13th, it will not be some hypothetical lab simulation. It will be a real-time test of planetary resilience. And if that sounds dramatic, it's only because we have forgotten how dramatic nature truly is. We tend to believe we are the authors of our own destiny. But the cosmos reminds us gently, and sometimes not so gently, that we are co-authors writing our stories on a canvas whose texture we don't fully control. This solar storm is part of a broader solar cycle number 25, to be pre-Cesium recurring dance of solar intensity that ebbs and flows over an 11-year rhythm. Scientists have noted that this cycle is ramping up faster and fiercer than expected. The sun, it seems, has plans, and we, whether we like it or not, are part of them. In 2003, we saw what happens when geomagnetic storms reach peak levels. The Halloween storms shut down power in parts of Sweden, caused transformers in South Africa to melt, and even rerouted airline traffic across the Arctic. And back then, we were less connected. Today, our dependence on fragile networks of electricity and data has grown exponentially. A disruption today would ripple not just through technology, but through psychology, through economy, through belief. And yet, even in the face of such potential disruption, there is no need for panic, only for perspective. The same storm that threatens to short-circuit our machines is also a majestic, natural process that reminds us of our place in the solar ecosystem. In fact, every challenge we face in this modern array, be it climate, conflict, or cosmic weather, is an opportunity not just to adapt, but to evolve in our thinking. So what does it say about us, this species that builds microchips thinner than a strand of hair, yet can be brought to its knees by a magnetic ripple from the sun? It says that we are powerful, but not invincible. It says that while we have learned to harness the laws of nature, we have not outgrown them. And that is perhaps the most humbling and simultaneously the most liberating truth of all, because it is in humility that true intelligence is born. The coming solar storm is not just a physical phenomenon, it is an existential metaphor. It asks, how prepared are we, not just as engineers and decision makers, but as humans? How resilient is our emotional circuitry when the digital circuitry fails? Can we hold space for uncertainty without descending into fear? Can we recognize that we are not the center of the universe, but an exquisite part of Ita's single note in the cosmic symphony? As the electromagnetic waves wash over our atmosphere, they won't just shake satellites. They may stir something else, something deeper, something quieter in each of us. Because beyond the science, beyond the spectacular auroras and the power grid concerns, there lies a silent truth. These storms remind us that we are of the cosmos, not merely in it, that the atoms in our bones and the neurons in our minds were once part of a star not unlike the one now flaring in our sky. The sun is not separate from us. It is our ancestor, our source, and when it sends out waves of energy, we do more than monitor the data. We feel it emotionally, energetically, biologically. Scientists have long known that solar storms correlate with changes in animal migration, shifts in human behavior, fluctuations in the stock market, even spikes in heart arrhythmias. It's not pseudoscience. It's biophysics. Your heart beats to electromagnetic rhythm. Your brain, that beautiful 3-pound universe inside your skull, operates through electrical impulses that can and don't respond to solar interference. We are not blank slates insulated from the cosmos. We are living antennas, constantly receiving and transmitting information from the environment, the planet, and the stars. And so this event, this so-called solar storm of the century, is not just a test of technology. It is a test of awareness, of presence, of our ability to respond, not react, to witness the storm, not only with instruments, but with insight. You see, we often talk about solar storms as disruptions, as if they are intrusions into the regularly scheduled programming of human life. But from the sun's perspective, there is no disruption. There is only continuity cycles of intensity, release, magnetism, and renewal. It is we who feel disrupted, not because the universe is chaotic, but because we have built systems too fragile to withstand nature's consistency. Perhaps, then, the real question is not how strong is the storm, but how strong are we? Not in muscle or machinery, but in meaning, in mindset, in our ability to meet the unknown, not with fear, but with reverence. Because let's be honest, we've grown used to thinking of ourselves as masters of the earth, as authors of destiny. We've surrounded ourselves with artificial lights, synthetic comforts, and algorithmic predictions. But one surge from the sun reminds us that we are still passengers on a ship powered by forces far older and far wiser than any invention of our own. And maybe, just maybe, that reminder is a gift, a cosmic reset, a nudge from the universe to look up not just in curiosity, but in humility. During this window of heightened solar activity, from May 10th to 13th, it won't only be magnetic fields that fluctuate. Emotions may rise. Sleep patterns may shift. You may feel more energized, or more fatigued, more intuitive, or more unsettled, not because you're weak or overwhelmed, but because your body, like the Earth, is part of a larger energetic system adjusting to new input. These are not random effects. They are physiological responses to electromagnetic reality. And they remind us that biology and cosmology are not strangers. They are partners in a delicate, elegant dance. This is where science meets wonder. Not in abandoning facts, but in deepening them and realizing that every data point, every electromagnetic fluctuation, every flare is a whisper from the universe, inviting us to remember that we belong to something far greater than ourselves. Not greater in size alone, but in pattern, in intelligence, in timing. And if we choose to listen not just with our ears, but with our minds and hearts, then the storm becomes more than an event. It becomes a teacher. Because what is a solar storm really if not a mirror? A mirror reflecting back to us how we respond to pressure, to unpredictability, to forces beyond our control. The sun does not send these storms with intention or malice. It doesn't know we're here. It simply exists wild, radiant, indifferent, and it is our responsibility to interpret, adapt, and evolve in its presence. That's what makes us human. Not our dominion over nature, but our ability to find meaning within it. And right now, we are being invited to reconsider the architecture of our inner world, to ask ourselves, what systems within me are fragile? Where have I built routines and beliefs so dependent on external control that the slightest magnetic shake sends my emotional grid into blackout? It's not about being alarmed, it's about being aware. Awareness is not paranoia, it's power. And the more aware we are of the natural forces that shape our lives, the more consciously we can participate in our own evolution. You see, there's something poetic in the way the Earth responds to solar storms. When those charged particles reach our atmosphere, the magnetosphere bends, reshapes, and realigns. It doesn't resist, it adjusts. And in that adjustment, auroras are born, those luminous rivers of light that dance across the polar skies. Maybe we're not so different. Maybe when the storm hits our nervous system, our institutions, our beliefs, we too have the capacity to bend, reshape, and realign. And maybe, just maybe, something beautiful is born in that process. Not auroras of the sky, but illuminations of the soul, clarity, courage, consciousness. This storm, this physical, measurable event could be the very thing that reminds us of our metaphysical strength. It could help us transcend the illusion of separation between self and nature, science and spirit, individual and collective. Because in the end, solar flares don't recognize borders. They don't care whether you're rich or poor, connected or offline, scientific or spiritual. They affect all of us equally, universally. And that right there is the hidden lesson. That in the face of cosmic forces, we are one species, one home, one fragile magnetized sphere suspended in the black velvet ocean of space. And what touches one, touches all. So what do we do with this knowledge, just intellectually, but practically, ethically, collectively? The temptation in moments like this is to retreat inward, to hoard, to shield, to brace for impact and isolation. But the truth is, a storm like this reveals how interconnected we already are. Our electrical grids are global, our communication systems are global, our weather patterns, economies, even supply chains, they all dance to rhythms larger than nation states or ideologies. And so must we. This isn't just about protecting your smartphone or your home Wi-Fi. It's about recognizing that we are all passengers aboard the same spacecraft called Earth. And like any crew facing turbulence, our best chance of stability lies in collaboration, in foresight, in humility. Governments must act. Infrastructure must be fortified. Power grids need redundancy. Satellites need shielding. Emergency protocols must be revisited, not out of fear, but out of respect for reality. But beyond the realm of policy and protocol lies a deeper kind of preparedness, the cultivation of inner stability. Because here's the paradox. The more advanced our technology becomes, the more ancient our wisdom must be to guide it. What good is artificial intelligence if natural intelligence, empathy, clarity, cooperation is absent? What good are satellites if we've lost sight of our own inner compass? And so, as the geomagnetic waves arrive and the planet itself begins to resonate with new frequencies, we are offered a moment not just to endure the change, but to be the change, to reflect on how we move through the world, to ask, where in our own lives are we stuck in outdated or overcharged systems? Where can we release tension personally, culturally, globally, and realign with a more sustainable, more conscious rhythm? Perhaps this storm is not just solar. Perhaps it is symbolic of the tension building in our shared world, social, political, environmental. Perhaps, like the Earth's magnetosphere, we too must allow ourselves to flex and bend rather than break, to absorb the impact, transform the energy, and respond not with collapse, but with creation. That is the gift hidden in the storm. A moment to pivot, a chance to evolve. Not in some abstract spiritual sense, but in the grounded, measurable, everyday decisions we make. What we consume, how we treat others, what we value, where we invest our attention. These choices matter. They shape our reality. They calibrate the signal we send into the collective field of human consciousness. Because at the heart of this cosmic dance lies a simple truth. We are not spectators in the universe. We are participants. Not isolated observers, but entangled expressions of a system so vast and intricate that even our greatest theories can only glimpse its fullness. And this solar storm, this seemingly external event, is not happening to us, it is happening with us. We are not separate from space weather. We are space weather. The iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the carbon in your cells, all forged in stellar furnaces, scattered across light years, and woven into your body with exquisite precision. You are the result of fusion and gravity and time. You are, in every measurable sense, a child of the cosmos. So when solar winds shake the Earth's magnetic field, they do not just rattle satellites, they whisper to your biology. When energy floods the ionosphere, it is not only auroras that respond, your nervous system does too. And that changes the question from, how do I protect myself, to, how do I listen? What is this moment trying to say? What part of me is ready to shed its old electromagnetic shell? What thoughts, beliefs, patterns, what outdated wiring is no longer serving the system that I am? Because make no mistake, just as the sun goes through cycles of intensity and release, so do we. Just as it flares and quiets, we too have seasons of upheaval and renewal. This storm is not just a warning, it is an opportunity, a cosmic chiropractic adjustment, a signal not of destruction, but of activation. If you feel off balance, it's not weakness. It's alignment in progress. If you feel overstimulated, it's not madness. It's energetic calibration. The point isn't to escape the storm. The point is to stand in it, conscious, curious, courageous, and let it show you what's ready to transform. This is not mysticism. This is biophysics meeting self-awareness. This is solar energy translated into inner clarity. This is science in the service of awakening. Because while one individual can tune into the rhythm of the cosmos, imagine what becomes possible when millions do so together. When enough people recognize that their biology is a mirror of celestial motion and their choices ripple through an energetic grid that extends beyond the visible, a new kind of society begins to emerge. Not driven by fear, not built on control, but rooted in coherence. Coherence with nature, with science, with one another. The coming solar storm, for all its potential to disrupt technology, also carries within it the blueprint of reconnection. It reminds us that, like the Earth's magnetosphere, our social structures must be flexible, responsive, and integrated with the environment, not rigid and resistant to change. We cannot insulate ourselves from cosmic reality. We can only learn to live in resonance with it. And that begins not with governments or institutions, but with awareness. Awareness that each of us is a node in a planetary network of consciousness. That every thought you think, every intention you hold, subtly contributes to the overall frequency of the species. This is not metaphor, it is measurable. Studies in neuroscience, in quantum coherence, in global magnetic resonance have shown that human emotion and solar activity are intimately linked, that fluctuations in the geomagnetic field correlate with fluctuations in collective mood, decision-making, and even large-scale human behavior. The cosmos is not just out there, it is in here, looping back on itself through us. So what kind of signal do you want to broadcast when the skies are charged with light? Will it be one of fear and resistance, or one of alignment and purpose? Will you contract under pressure or expand into it? Because you are not just reacting to the storm, you are part of the way Earth responds. You are part of the planetary immune system. You are part of the harmonics that determine whether this moment becomes a breakdown or a breakthrough. And make no mistake, this is not the final storm. The solar cycle is just getting started. This is but the opening chord in a much larger symphony of energy, evolution, and emergence. And what we choose to learn now, not just technologically, but existentially, will shape how we experience what comes next. So what does it mean, practically, to prepare for a solar storm? Yes, there are the external steps, the grounded, necessary precautions that ensure stability in our homes and communities. Back up your data, protect sensitive electronics, have backup power sources where possible. These are not signs of paranoia. They are signs of maturity of a species beginning to take cosmic weather as seriously as terrestrial weather. But there's another kind of preparation, one not measured in kilowatts or Wi-Fi strength, but in coherence of mind, calm of breath, and clarity of intention. Because when the magnetic field of the Earth becomes turbulent, your own internal field is more easily disturbed. Emotional triggers may rise. Sleep may be erratic. Thoughts may become noisy. And that's not a malfunction. That's an invitation. An invitation to recalibrate, to simplify, to come back to stillness. During these days of solar intensity, your nervous system will thank you for every deep breath, every moment spent away from screens, every act of presence. Spend time in nature not because it's poetic, but because Earth's own magnetic rhythms are stabilizing. Hydrate because water conducts energy and you are at your core an electromagnetic being suspended in liquid crystal. Eat lightly, not as a ritual of deprivation, but as a gift to your inner system, making space for realignment. And most importantly, cultivate inner silence, not as escapism, but as tuning. Silence is not absence, it is resonance. It is what allows your internal compass to detect what's real amidst the noise. If the skies are dancing and your heart is trembling, know that this is not coincidence. The solar storm is not happening outside of you. It is moving through you. And when you meet that movement with conscious breath, clear thought, and grounded presence, you become more than just a witness, you become a transmitter. You begin to emit a field of coherence that stabilizes not just yourself, but the people around you. Like tuning forks, humans entrained to one another, your stillness becomes contagious. Your awareness becomes a beacon, and collectively, these beacons form a net, a grid of conscious response, spanning cities, families, nations. That is the hidden power in solar storms. They don't just challenge systems, they reveal systems. They expose the fragility of what's artificial and the enduring strength of what's natural, essential, eternal. Because what if this storm is not an interruption, but a transition? What if it is not a warning, but a doorway, a threshold between two versions of the human story, one written in resistance, the other in resonance? The truth is, we are already living in the early chapters of a new era, an age where our relationship to the cosmos is no longer one of mystery and mythology alone, but of measurement, meaning, and mutual reflection. For centuries, we gazed at the heavens and called them divine. Now we send probes into that very divinity, measure its storms, trace its frequencies, and still we are humbled. Because the more we learn, the more we see that intelligence is not exclusive to our species. Intelligence is written into the structure of matter itself, into the orbits of planets, the pulse of stars, the pattern of DNA. And perhaps solar storms, these radiant, disruptive bursts of stellar emotion, are just one more form of communication in a universe constantly speaking. The only question is, are we listening? Not just with satellites, but with souls. Not just with data, but with depth. Because if we are, then we begin to see that this isn't just a moment of solar turbulence, it's a moment of planetary initiation. A test, a prompt, a gentle but firm nudge from the stars, asking, are you ready to evolve not just in tools, but in consciousness? Are you ready to be more than engineers of technology, to become stewards of energy, custodians of coherence, creators of a civilization aligned with cosmic law? Because here's what becomes possible When enough of us say yes, we begin to build systems, social, economic, ecological, that are resilient not just to solar storms, but to inner storms. We educate not just for competition, but for clarity. We lead not with dominance, but with vision. And we design technologies that mirror the wisdom of nature rather than override it. In short, we become more like the Earth, adaptable, magnetic, alive. And like the Earth facing the sun, we stand open, not in submission, but in cooperation. Not asking the cosmos to change for us, but changing ourselves to flow with it. So now the question is no longer, will the storm come? It's already here in waves of data, in tremors of thought, in shifts of awareness so subtle, they often go unnoticed. The real question is, how will we show up to meet it? Not just for ourselves, but for the generations who will inherit the choices we make in moments like this. Because while the sun is 4.6 billion years old, our civilization, our digital, interconnected, electromagnetically dependent civilization is less than a blink in cosmic time. And yet, we are shaping the fate of ecosystems, of climates, of cultures at a scale once reserved for geological epochs. That kind of influence demands not just intelligence, but wisdom, not just ambition, but alignment. And the great solar storm of May 10th to 13th, as disruptive as it may be, is not an ending. It is a teacher, a cosmic mentor arriving in the language of magnetism and light. Its lessons are clear, that we are not separate from nature, we are nature. That we are not victims of cosmic forces, we are cosmic forces in human form. That the universe does not conspire against us, but invites us through every flare, every frequency to wake up and remember who we are. So let us rise to the occasion. Let us prepare not just our power grids, but our perspectives. Let us strengthen not just our devices, but our discernment. Let us anchor not just data centers, but deeper centers within ourselves, places of calm, of clarity, of cosmic context. Because the greatest shield we have against instability is not found in steel or silicon, but in stillness, in knowing our place in the grand story of energy and emergence. The sun will flare again. The earth will shake again. But if we remember that we too are part of this dynamic dance, if we embody the harmony we seek, then no storm can truly shake us loose. We become grounded not just in soil, but in stardust. We become resilient not just in infrastructure, but in intention. And that perhaps is the real gift of this solar storm. Not destruction, not disruption, but the return of wonder, the remembrance of connection, and the rebirth of responsibility, personal, planetary, and cosmic. So as the days unfold, as the sun releases its energy and the earth receives it, pause, step outside one evening, look up at the sky, not through the lens of fear, but with the curiosity of someone who remembers they belong to the stars. Feel the silence between the pulses of information. Sense the ancient rhythm beating behind the clouds, beneath your skin, across the fabric of space-time. The storm is not here to punish us. It is not here to test our technology alone. It is here to wake us, to lift the veil, to remind us that beneath the noise of modern life, there is a symphony always playing, and we are instruments in it, vibrating, resonating, evolving. So ask yourself, in this great music of light and energy, what note do I wish to be? What signal will I transmit into the field? Not just when it's easy, but especially when the skies shake and the frequencies rise. This is the age of solar awareness, the age of energetic literacy, the age where humanity learns not only to observe the cosmos, but to participate in its rhythm with intention, with grace, and with awe. You are not here by accident. You are not hearing these words by chance. The same cosmic choreography that propels particles through space also brought you into this moment. So honor it. Let the storm pass through you. Let it rewire what needs to be released. Let it illuminate what is ready to awaken. And when it's over, when the sky's quiet and the grid stabilizes, don't forget what it felt like to be reminded of your place in the universe. Don't go back to sleep. Carry the memory of this moment forward. Carry the clarity, carry the responsibility, and above all, carry the wonder. Because we are not just citizens of nations. We are citizens of a galaxy, of a star system, of a living planet spinning in radiant harmony with a sun that both sustains and transforms us. And now, more than ever, it is time we act like it.